Ready? Okay, break. It's time for the High School Huddle. Your host, Jordan Hirsh, is getting set to break down all the action on the local gridirons in Bucks and Mercer Counties. Stats, conversation, inside analysis. It's all here on the High School Huddle, proudly brought to you by the Capital Health System and Anthony Petsis and Associates right now on WBCB 1490 AM and 107.3 FM.
Welcome into another installment of the High School Huddle. I am your host, Jordan Hirsh, here on another beautiful afternoon in Lower Bucks County. And we've got a lot to get to here on this second Thursday of October. We are well into the second half of high school football season. Playoffs are just a few weeks away, and we've got a whole bunch of teams in this area vying for playoff positioning, and a whole lot of big games on the docket this week as well. A lot of games from last week as well to go back and take a look at. But we're going to start the show off, as we always do, talking about the two teams we cover here in Bucks County, those being those Pennsbury Falcons and the Neshaminy Skins. Neshaminy, they suffered their first National Division loss of the year last week, falling 14-7 against Penn Ridge. Now they look to bounce back against a tough Central Bucks East squad, a CB East team that's kind of been up and down this season. Started out real well. They've struggled a little bit over the last few weeks. We're going to get into all of that. Pennsbury 0-7, but they continue to stay in games. They continue to keep games close as they look to get over the hump for the first time this season. They're taking on North Penn, those vaunted North Penn Knights who have always given the Falcons trouble. Got a big matchup on Saturday afternoon at Falcon Field. And then in Mercer County, our game of the week this week, it seems like we've been talking about Hopewell Valley, the Bulldogs, a whole lot on this show this season. And honestly, rightfully so. They just got their revenge game win against Seneca last week, and the season does not get any easier here in October as they take on Burlington Township, the undefeated 6-0 Burlington Township Falcons, ranked as one of the top public teams, really in the top 10 in New Jersey in terms of public teams in the state. So Hopewell Valley, another big matchup. They take on Burlington Township this week. We're going to preview that game. And then coming up at the end of the show, you're not going to want to miss it. He's been on once before, sticking with that Hopewell Valley theme. We're going to be talking to the coach of the Bulldogs, Dave Caldwell, who's done just a fantastic job with that program ever since he got there. And I think he really deserves a lot of praise for what he's done this year after graduating almost 20 players from last season. New quarterback, new running backs, top 5 receivers from last year are all gone, and this team just keeps on rolling, and they look like they're going to vie for a sectional or maybe even a state title this year. Who knows? So we got to ask Dave Caldwell just about what he liked from that game against Seneca, get his thoughts on the Burlington Township Falcons. Hopewell Valley looking to beat them in back-to-back seasons. Those two teams played a thriller, a low-scoring thriller last year. Hopewell Valley got a little lucky at the end, so we're going to talk to Dave Caldwell and see if maybe get his thoughts on whether or not Hopewell Valley this time around can see the same level of success against Burlington Township as they did last year. But all right, we got to get into this. We got to first start, as we always do on this show, with the Neshaminy Skins. Suffered just their second loss of the year, first SOL National Division L last week, falling 14-7 against first place Penn Ridge. And this, honestly, it was not your typical 14-7 snooze fest. You see that score right, 14-7. Oh, this game was boring. This game was far from boring. It was filled with action. It seemed like every drive for both teams was really intense. It truly felt like these were the two best teams in the National Division going at it, just blow for blow at Harry E. Frank Stadium last week. And each team really left it all out on the field. You got to give major credit to Penn Ridge, coming down to Heartbreak Ridge, coming from behind. And Neshaminy, they took a 7-0 lead earlier on in this game. But the Rams came back, got a big play at the end. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. And now Penn Ridge, 7-0 for the first time since 1964. It really is just outstanding and phenomenal what that team is doing out there, and just, with a very similar roster as a team last year that had just 4 wins, now being 7-0, Penn Ridge really staking their claim to being one of, if not the top teams, not just in the area, but in Class 6A as a whole. So let's take a look at how this game went, because it started out real well for the Skins. They took a lead late in the first quarter. It was an incredible catch by wide receiver Brock Williams. He was able to haul in a 20-yard passing touchdown while falling to the ground with a defender draped all over him. You could head over to our YouTube page, WBCB Sports, go to the game, look at the game tape. It was just an incredible catch. If you don't believe me, go look for yourself over on the YouTube side of things. It was easily his best catch of the year. But Penn Ridge, they respond late in the second quarter. 2-yard rushing touchdown by running back Will Doherty. Doherty, the senior, he got the lion's share of the touches at the running back position. It was a little surprising. He finished the game with 101 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Remember, we talked about it last week on the show, but Penn Ridge really has a duo of real capable backs. Will Doherty being one of them, but Ryan Rowe, he's the other. He's committed to Princeton. He got just 2 carries, and I guess their head coach, he just kept riding the hot hand with Doherty, and it paid off there late in the second quarter. Then early in the third, Neshaminy, they snatched momentum back quite literally. Nick Sassano, he came up with his 3rd interception of the season. It was probably the easiest one. There was some miscommunication between Penn Ridge quarterback Noah Keating as well as his receiver. Keating threw the ball up the seam. The receiver stayed to the outside, and it was just an easy pickoff for Sassano right there. Again, his 3rd of the season, tying his brother, actually, Mike, for the team high here in Week 6. Unfortunately for Neshaminy, they couldn't capitalize on that turnover. Penn Ridge would go on to take the lead late in the third on a quarterback sneak by Keating. Neshaminy, they got one more chance in the final minutes of the fourth, and it seemed like they were going to be set up inside the 10 at one point. An ineligible man downfield penalty wiped away what would have been a 23-yard completion to Mike Sassano, would have set the Skins up with a little under a minute to go in very favorable territory. But unfortunately, a few plays later, Michael Eckert, he located Brock Williams in the end zone, threw a really good ball, but Rams cornerback Chase Klontz, he made a great adjustment, came off of his man. He was defending Bobby Lagler on the outside, right around the 10-yard line. He made an adjustment, noticed the ball was in the air, turned his head at the perfect time, and was able to go back and pick it off. He just beat Brock Williams to the spot. Not much you could do about that, just a really exceptional play. And Klontz, he was able to grab it on a bobble as well for good measure. Chase Klontz helping his team get to 7-0. So let's take a look at some stats from this game. Because you look at Neshaminy, right, they played pretty well, all things considered, despite scoring just those 7 points. Michael Eckert, the passing numbers were a little bit down, 15 for 22, 139 yards, a touchdown, just his 2nd interception of the year. But here's where I really look at it. The rushing numbers for Eckert, 11 carries, just 3 yards. Penn Ridge did a great job against him. We're going to talk about that here coming up. Let's just continue to roll through the stats for right now. Big game for Carter Klee. 19 carries, 98 yards for him. Brock Williams, mentioned him a few times already. 2 catches, 21 yards, and a touchdown. Bobby Lagler, 3 catches for 32 yards. So finally, he makes a catch that doesn't result in 6. His previous 3 catches had all gone for touchdowns. Lucas Stewart, his 2nd game back from injury, he had 3 receptions for 42 yards. Then on defense, Carson Schneider just continued to put up numbers, 10 total tackles and a tackle for loss. Mentioned Nick Sassano had that interception, also 9 tackles for him. And Dan McGarity at the safety spot just continues to improve as the season goes along. Another big game for him, 8 total tackles for McGarity. He had a TFL as well. Penalty numbers, not that bad for Neshaminy, 6 penalties for 40 yards, but the defense, no sacks and just 3 tackles for loss. Neshaminy, they did allow 143 rushing yards. However, the longest one of the game for Penn Ridge was just 12. So Neshaminy, they held their own in the run game on defense. Unfortunately, just couldn't get stops when it really mattered most in this one. And this was honestly the first game all season that Neshaminy got beat in the trenches battle. Like I mentioned, defensive line held their own. So did the offensive line. It's a very talented Rams pass rush. But Eckert in this game, he did see more pressure than he had all season. In total, the numbers aren't all that gaudy for Penridge. They finished with 2 team sacks and 8 tackles for loss. But Eckert, he was forced to escape the pocket at a much higher rate than we're used to seeing. And as a result, that's why his rushing numbers were down. Because oftentimes with Eckert, we'll see him, he tries to pad the rushing stats either climbing the pocket or those designed quarterback runs in the RPO game that's really made Neshaminy dangerous this year. That's something the Rams did a great job taking away in this one. And Eckert, he was really only able to use his legs when he had to scramble to the outside. So for now, this is just one loss, perhaps again against one of the best public teams in the county and maybe even in the state as well. Max Preps, they have the Rams ranked as the number 12 team overall in Pennsylvania after this win. So level of concern for Neshaminy, I don't think it should be too high. Now, of course, the pessimist would say that, of course, they would point to the fact that they had opportunities to win this game. They just were unable to get it done, and they could use that to justify their concern for the Skins as they head towards the postseason, where the level of competition, it's going to be just as tough, if not even tougher. However, the optimist is going to look at it and take a look at that same fact and be like, hey, you know, they went blow for blow with one of Pennsylvania's best. That proves that Neshaminy is right up there, deserves to be talked about in the same conversation as a team like Penridge, a team like Coatesville, another undefeated squad, North Penn, who they've already beaten as well. And that's the route that I'm going to take with this team. They've already proven they could beat those really talented opponents. They beat Emmaus. They've beat North Penn. They've beat Central Bucks West. So for me, this is a well-established group of guys, a really good team, and they deserve to be right up there with some of the best teams in this area. We'll see how it now plays out over the next 3 weeks. Going to talk about this Central Bucks East game coming up after the break. They're going to follow that up with a matchup against CB South and then Pennsbury to finish off the year. Falcons, of course, 0-7, but that rivalry game, you never quite know what's going to happen. You could throw the records out the window sometimes. Those two teams always seem to play it really close. Neshaminy, the one thing I am a little concerned with is just the fact that they have these next 3 games, their last 3 games of the regular season. They're all on the road. Neshaminy's, they've played just 1 road game since August, and again, this is all hypothetical, of course, and speculation. The one thing that I would be a little concerned about is that they get a little too used to the home cooking. Of course, it's not like the NFL where you're getting on a plane and traveling across the country. Here, you're just getting on a bus and traveling 30, 45 minutes to Doylestown to face CB East. But it's still, you get a little used to being in front of your home crowd. The student section at Neshaminy was great the entire season, and now you get into this mode where you have to travel, not something you're used to doing. We'll see how Neshaminy handles that. All right, like I mentioned, they're taking on CB East, the Patriots. We're going to get to that game after the break. We're also going to talk about Pennsbury because, again, 0-7, but they continue to keep games close, and they've got a big matchup with North Penn. Everybody in Falcon Land, they know that the North Penn game, it's another chance for Pennsbury to try to exercise some demons. So we're going to continue to talk Neshaminy. We're going to get into the Pennsbury Falcons a little bit as well on the other side of this break. You're listening to the High School Huddle. We'll be right back on the radio side, WBCB 1490 AM, 107.3 FM, as well as on YouTube, WBCB Sports. Today's show is proudly sponsored by Anthony Petsis and Associates, voted the best financial advisory firm in Bucks County for 13 years by the Bucks County Courier-Times. Anthony Petsis and Associates delivers people-centered advice, empowering you to take control of your financial future with confidence. Their firm is committed to helping your family build and preserve wealth for the next 100 years. If you're interested in becoming a client of the top-rated financial advisory firm in Bucks County, please contact Anthony Petsis and Associates at 215-968-6638. That's 215-968-6638. You can also visit their website at apetsis.com. Anthony Petsis and Associates. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there.
Join Stephen Lawler the third Saturday of this month for Slobber Knocker Showdown. Listen as Stephen updates you on the world of wrestling from last week and takes your call at 215-949-3232. Slobber Knocker Showdown with Stephen Lawler the third Saturday of the month from 1 to 2 p.m. right here on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM, as well as heard around the world at WBCB1490.com.
With over 7,200 square feet of 200 brewers in stock at all times, Pat Dion Beverages now features 5 different flavors of their favorite slushy cocktails. You can also purchase all your wine, liquor, and other fine spirits right next door. Visit us on Facebook or online at patdionbeverages.com for upcoming events and samples from your favorite brewery or local food vendor.
You're listening to the High School Huddle on WBCB 1490 AM and 107.3 FM. The High School Huddle is proudly brought to you by the Capital Health System and Anthony Petsis and Associates. Now back to your host, Jordan Hirsh.
Welcome back into the High School Huddle. I'm your host, Jordan Hirsh, here on the radio side, WBCB 1490 AM, 107.3 FM, and a big shout out to those of you listening along on YouTube as well at WBCB Sports. Now, before we get into this Neshaminy CB East matchup, as well as break down the Pennsbury Falcons as they get set for a big game against North Penn on Saturday, I gotta first tell all of you about our brand new WBCB Sports Instagram. I really shouldn't even say it's brand new. I plug this Instagram on the show every single week. But for those of you that are new to the High School Huddle, new to my other show, Friday Night Hype, where I will without a doubt plug the Instagram again tomorrow afternoon from 4 to 5. See what I did there? A little subtle plug for the show, subtle plug for the Instagram. Excellent marketing idea. I hope that our sales guy, Bill Redner, really appreciates that. Anyways, back to the Instagram. You could follow us at WBCB_SN. We're posting all sorts of high school sports content over there, game highlights, as well as, talking about the coaches roundtable that goes off at Sandy's Beef and Ale every Wednesday. Chris Ermer, he does a great job hosting that. You could watch that on YouTube at WBCB Sports. You could also get behind-the-scenes content from Sandy's Beef and Ale every week on our Instagram. We post our player of the game highlights, stats, scores, pretty much everything you could think of that you would need to be kept up to date with high school football and as well as just all high school sports. Once we get into basketball, baseball season, we post about the soccer games that we cover. How about a very exciting game that we had on the WBCB Sports Network a couple of days ago in soccer, Robbinsville and Steinert. Real good game. You catch up on that game at the Instagram feed as well. Just want to give a big shout out as well to everybody who helps run that feed. Brianne O'Neill, our sports director. I know all the play-by-play broadcasters, Mike Warren, Nick Gallagher, Rob Gilmore. They all do a great job. Some of the interns, Ava Fife, Ben Goldstein. I really hope I'm not leaving any name off the list. I'm sure I'm forgetting some just because we got a whole crew of people helping build up this Instagram page, which is one of the very many reasons why you should head over, drop a follow. Again, that's at WBCB_SN. All right, let's get back into the Neshaminy Skins football now because they got a big game coming up, looking to bounce back against the Central Bucks East Patriots, a pair of 5-2 teams going at it tomorrow, 7 p.m. They're traveling across to Doylestown. This is their first of 3 road games to close out the regular season. Myself, Nick Gallagher, will be on the call from Doylestown on YouTube at WBCB Sports with pregame getting you started right around 6:45. But Neshaminy, CB East haven't played each other a whole ton during the Max Preps era, which goes back to 2004. Neshaminy 4-2 all-time against CB East, 2-0 on the road. Last season, Neshaminy, they took a 24-13 victory at home. Michael Eckert, very good in that game, 16 of 24, 164 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Carter Klee, he was still returning from injury, 15 carries, 48 yards, and a touchdown. Mixed it in the receiving game as well, 3 catches for 30 yards in that one. Nick Sassano, 3 catches for 48 yards. Lucas Stewart had 2 catches, 21 yards, and a touchdown. But Central Bucks East, this is a very different team than they had last year. They went just 4-6 last season, but they began the year red hot. They won their first 3 games of the season in 2025 over Ridley, Cheltenham, and Council Rock North, and they won those games by a combined score of 87-35. So not the most talented opponents, but Cheltenham, they did beat Neshaminy. Ridley, not that bad either. However, CB East, they've cooled off since. In their last 4 games, they're just 2-2, and those 2 wins are against Pennsbury and against Abington, who are combined 1-13. It was a big 49-7 win for them against Abington last week. This is just another case where it seems like every week Neshaminy, they're either playing Abington or they're playing the team that just faced them. That was the case with Penridge last week as well. But you take a scouting report look at the Patriots. Like Neshaminy's last 2 opponents, they're a run-heavy team. At times, they're going to remind you of the Armed Forces schools, so expect to see a lot of off-tackle runs, pulling linemen, and these linemen, they're big, they're physical. They can create holes for the backs to get through. They have a thunder and lightning backfield, juniors Michael Price and Chase Ingram, and then their quarterback, just a sophomore, Hunter Pulford. He's more run than he is pass. In fact, he's ran the ball more this season than he has thrown it. So Michael Price, he's the bell cow, 69 carries, 451 yards. He's averaging 6.5 yards per carry and 6 touchdowns. Then there's Chase Ingram, 34 rushes, 101 yards and a touchdown. He's more that short yardage, third down guy. And I mentioned Pulford. He likes to run more than he likes to throw. 60 pass attempts this year. He's completed 33 of them, 398 yards through the air, just 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. But 77 carries, 317 yards. That's just over 4 yards a carry. 7 more touchdowns on the ground. It's real interesting. This CB East team, very throwback. They have just 3 touchdowns through the air this season, 21 on the ground. And in fact, backup quarterback Mike Bova, the senior, he has 2 of those 3 passing touchdowns in just 3 pass attempts. So it seems like they like to bring him in the red zone, perhaps on a third down where their team needs a big play through the air. Maybe expect to see Mike Bova, the senior quarterback, come in during different spurts as this game goes along. But then in the wide receiving game, Sam Pizzell, he's their top wide receiver, 13 catches, 190 yards, and a touchdown. On defense, they got some dogs, one of them being Timmy Firmheister, 4 sacks, 36 total tackles, and 17.5 tackles for loss. Liam Hoey, he's another one to look out for on that defensive unit, 3 sacks. He leads the team with 40 tackles, 12 of them have been for loss. This defense, as a collective unit, 22 sacks and 82 tackles for loss in 7 games. 5 different players have at least 3 sacks. They only have 4 total interceptions, but 11 fumble recoveries, and they're allowing just 13.4 points per game this year. They've given up just 94 points overall. That's 3rd in the national division. Neshaminy, they're actually 1st in points allowed with just 90. And they're 2nd in scoring average, averaging 28.7 points per game. So it's really a strength on strength, the CB East defense going up against the Neshaminy offense. So for Neshaminy, their rushing defense, they're going to have to lead the charge defensively. We've already seen them quiet some real capable backs such as CB West, Nick Miletto, North Penn's Matt Pownell. So it's been proven that this group is capable of putting up another good defensive performance tomorrow night. They just cannot allow themselves to take a step back. All in all, they did a good job against the run against Penridge last week. But on their 2 touchdown drives, Neshaminy couldn't really slow down Will Dougherty and the Penridge run game. And that's what ultimately cost them their first divisional loss of the year. So, stopping the run on defense, as it is every time you play the Central Bucks East team, that is going to be paramount. Then on offense, valuing the football is going to be key for the Skins. The Patriots are averaging over 2 takeaways per game, and with those 11 fumble recoveries, you know their defense, they're constantly looking to strip the football, punch it out. So ball security, it's going to be of the utmost importance in this matchup. And this could also help the defense out as well, because with a team like Central Bucks East, a team like that runs the ball as much as they do, making them have to drive the ball down the field consistently, that is one way to beat them. Turnovers often lead to short fields, so if your offense is scoring at a high rate, sometimes just winning, or if your offense isn't scoring at a high rate, I should say, sometimes just winning the field position battle against a team like the Patriots, that could be enough to win. So Neshaminy, Central Bucks East, tomorrow, 7 o'clock, pregame gets you started, 6:45. Myself, Nick Gallagher, will be on the call from Doylestown. All right, from Neshaminy to Pennsbury, the Falcons, they took on Central Bucks West last week and just fell behind early, couldn't recover in this one. Pennsbury ends up losing 17-7. And it's really just football 101. That when you're a team like the Falcons, who are going to run the ball 80 to 90% of the time, going down by 2 scores in the first half, that's essentially a dagger. Again, the defense, they stepped up. They played a solid game. They held a high-powered CB West offense to just 17 points. That was the second lowest total of the season for the Bucks. And honestly, in fact, I think what the defense has done this season for Pennsbury, it may be even more impressive than they get credit for, because they're going out there each week knowing the offense isn't really built to score a lot of points, and knowing they have to be great against some really great offenses. That's not easy to do. It's kind of like in baseball, a pitcher that gets no run support, and they know they have to go out there like 6-7 innings of 1-run ball every game if they want their team to have a chance, yet they still go out there and do it. That's like what Pennsbury's defense has done all season. That group deserves a lot of credit for sticking with it. And they're going to have to stick with it once again. Real tough test against North Penn this week. The Falcons, they finally return home for the first time in nearly a month. This game's going to go off on Saturday. That's October 11th. Their last home game was against Penridge on September 12th. So this game gets you started at noon on WBCB. Chris Ermer, Gus Barber, Ben Goldstein, they do a fantastic job covering that team each and every week. They'll be back on the call over on YouTube at WBCB Sports. But you look at Pennsbury's opponent, the North Penn Knights, not as dangerous a North Penn team as in years past, but they do still enter at 5-2, and it's well known that they've had the Falcons' number, and it seems that just regardless of record and even sometimes talent level, the Knights, they just always seem to give the Falcons trouble. In the Max Preps era, again, that goes back to 2004, Pennsbury, they're a brutal 1-17 against the Knights. That lone win came in 2022 in what was a wild 44-34 game. Saw 32 combined points in the fourth quarter of that one. And ever since then, Pennsbury's held their own a little bit more against North Penn. That's the good news for the Falcons. Each of the last 3 meetings, they've all been losses, including one in the playoffs in 2022. They've all been 1-score games. So taking a look at the scouting report for the Knights, they're led by a 3-headed monster in the run game. Seniors Matt Pownell and Cam Mainwer, and then junior Riley Gray. Pownell, he's a returning All-SOL National Division selection from last year. He's committed to Navy, so you know he's a real tough physical runner. He's also their top cornerback as well. Then there's Cam Mainwer, who provides some physicality. He's more the short yardage back. And Riley Gray, who might be the most elusive running back in Bucks County. He's made life miserable for would-be tacklers just with the way he's able to juke and cut, make defenders miss. I got a chance to see him up close when North Penn took on Neshaminy back in September, and this dude is for real. He's a real slippery back. So last week, North Penn, they put it all together. They had a 28-7 win against Central Bucks South. That's a rematch of the District 1 Class 6A semis from last year. North Penn won that game 21-19 en route to the district title, or a district title game, rather. They ended up falling to Downingtown West. But this season, that was easily their most complete game of the year. And Matt Pownell, he even went a step further. He called it, quote, the best game we've played all season. I guess it's not really going a step further, but for a player to come out and say that in an interview, it just goes to show how impressive that win was. That That quote came from a game recap article, by the way, written by Drew Markle of the Bucks County Courier-Times. So Matt Pownell, the reason he was being interviewed, he had another great game, had a receiving touchdown. Riley Gray, 29-yard rushing TD. Cam Maynor, he had a touchdown through the air as well. And I talk about all these now receiving touchdowns. You cannot forget about 3-year starting quarterback Matt Bucksar on this North Penn team. He threw for 197 yards, 2 touchdowns, and ran for a touchdown last week. Bucksar, in the first half, went 7 for 8 for 181 yards and 2 touchdowns. He got out the gates real hot. The Bucks County Courier-Times, they have them ranked 3rd in Class 6A, behind only the 2 undefeated teams, those being Penridge and Coatesville. So some very high praise for North Penn. And for the Falcons, the key in this game, as it's really been all season long, just keep it close. I expect North Penn, they're going to come out with loads of confidence. They're fresh off their best win of the season, and they understand how they've dominated Pennsbury over the years. Now they get to face them in the midst of an 0-7 season. North Penn's going to be feeling real good about themselves. So the best thing the Falcons can do in this game, make a big play early. Whether it be an early touchdown or a big run or a deep pass. They did have a 20-yard passing touchdown in that game against Central Bucks West. Dante Ciola, he was the recipient of that. But if you're Pennsbury, you force a turnover. Just do something to put the Knights back on their heels a bit. Give them something to think about. Show them that they can't just come down to Falcon Field and coast to a win. I think that's the key for Pennsbury. Keep the game close, make a big play early, and maybe, just maybe, you could pull that upset on Saturday. So Pennsbury taking on North Penn, Neshaminy taking on Central Bucks East. You can find both those games this weekend on the WBCB Sports Network over on YouTube. All right, it's time to take our second break of the afternoon, but when we come back, going to be previewing the game of the week in Mercer County. Burlington Township 6-0, Hopewell Valley 5-1. Let's talk a little West Jersey Football League action when we come back here on the High School Huddle.
Capital Health's primary care network continues to grow, bringing its extensive option of locations to your neighborhood. Whether you're scheduling a wellness checkup or not feeling well, advanced medicine starts with a Capital Health primary care doctor at locations near you in Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. To find a Capital Health primary care location that's convenient for you, visit capitalmedicalgroup.org. That's capitalmedicalgroup.org.
Do you feel the need for speed and are a car racing fan? Then tune in every Thursday morning at 9:30 a.m. for the Need for Speed Auto Show, hosted by me, America's mechanic, Fred Fletcher. Everything you want to know about our local tracks and races to the NASCAR scene, as well as our area car shows and cruise nights. Brought to you by Fletcher's Garage in Fairless Hills and heard every Thursday morning at 9:30 on WBCB 1490 AM, 107.3 FM, and throughout the world at WBCB1490.com.
Energy costs are skyrocketing. Now's the time to upgrade your old heater and air conditioning systems to more efficient units to save on your utility bills. Harris Comfort can also handle all your propane needs, as well as providing sales and service on whole house generators. Harris Comfort is still family owned and has been serving our area for over 60 years, providing sales, service, installation, and peace of mind. Call 215-788-4596 or go to harriscomfort.com. Harris Comfort, still family and still local.
You're listening to the High School Huddle on WBCB 1490 AM and 107.3 FM. The High School Huddle is proudly brought to you by the Capital Health System and Anthony Petsis and Associates. Now back to your host, Jordan Hirsh.
Welcome back into the High School Huddle. I am your host, Jordan Hirsh, here on the radio side, WBCB 1490 AM, 107.3 FM, and on YouTube as well at WBCB Sports. A reminder, you could tune into the High School Huddle every Thursday from 4 to 5 p.m. on those two platforms. And also make sure to check out my other show with the Mercer County Hall of Famer Rich Fisher, Friday Night Hype. That, of course, goes off every Friday, same time, 4 to 5 p.m. As well on radio and on YouTube too. All right, let's swim across the river. It'd be tough to climb across the river, I guess, and head into Mercer County because once again, our game of the week this week features those Hopewell Valley Bulldogs, now 5-1, on undefeated Burlington Township. This is an interesting start time. Saturday, 10:30 a.m. kickoff on WBCB. Andrew Myers and Rich Fisher are going to have the call for this one. So back-to-back weeks, the game of the week features the Bulldogs. Why not? They're the hottest team in the county. They just picked up a signature 21-14 win on the road. At the time, it was a one-loss Seneca team who had upset them in the South Jersey Group 3 semis last season. Everybody thought this game was going to come down to the wire. That's exactly what happened. Hopewell Valley trailed 14-7 early in the fourth. They stormed back thanks to a pair of touchdown passes. Grayson Vlasic, he was balling late in that game. Threw a TD pass to Jude Berman, another one to Mike Whitlock. That tied the game and took the lead. Berman's tied it. Whitlock's was for the lead. Vlasic, he just continues to show improvement. He went 13 for 20, 124 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he elevated his game in the fourth quarter when his team needed it. That's the biggest takeaway for me from this game between Hopewell and Seneca, was just how clutch Vlasic came up in that fourth quarter. And this was a game where star running back junior Ethan Valenza, he was pretty much shut down. 18 carries, 55 yards. His longest rush of the game was 9. And this was probably a game that earlier in the season, the Bulldogs would have lost. But now that Vlasic's developed more, Hopewell, they really have no true weakness. You'd look at the stats for Vlasic. Through the first 4 games of the season, he went 28 of 55, 252 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, 37 carries, 244 yards on the ground, and 4 touchdowns, which isn't bad for a first-year starter in his first 4 games. But then you compare that with what he's done in the last 2 against Seneca and Allentown. 27 of 41, so just 1 fewer completion on 14 fewer attempts. 357 yards through the air. That's 105 more in his last 2 games compared to his first 4. 6 touchdowns, 1 more than he had in his first 4, and no picks. And then on the ground, he just continues to do business there. 19 carries, 139 yards. That's a telltale sign of a quarterback that's growing within a system and getting better with more experience. At the beginning of the year, it was clear that Hopewell Valley, once again, they were going to be a top team in the area, but it all hinged on Vlasic to determine just how far they could go, and with him playing at this level, there's no reason that they can't compete for a sectional title. And on defense, I want to shout out some players as well. Maybe these guys getting a little overlooked with just how explosive the offense has been playing. And make no mistake, the Bulldogs, they're 5-1, due very much in part to a defense that has been stellar. They're holding opponents to just 16.2 points per game this year. That is the best mark in the West Jersey Football League Capital Division. But some of these guys, Ethan Barker, 2 sacks, 4.5 tackles for loss, 40 total tackles to lead the team, 2 forced fumbles and 2 fumble recoveries. Ryan Otterbray, he's got half a sack, 6 TFLs, 39 tackles, a forced fumble, and 2 fumble recoveries. Mentioned him before, Jude Berman. He does it all. He plays offense, defense, and special teams. Defense, 25 tackles and 2 picks. The 2 interceptions lead the way for the Bulldogs. And on special teams, he's one of the more dangerous return men in the county. He has 2 kickoff return for touchdowns already this year. He's averaging just under 35 yards per return. Then there's Lucas Hemmer, 5 sacks, 5 TFLs, 23 total tackles. Carter Horvath has 4 sacks. The 2 of them have combined for more than half of Hopewell's sack total. Horvath also 4 TFLs, 26 total tackles. He's got a scoop and score touchdown as well. Then there's Ethan Barker's younger brother, Gavin, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 23 total tackles. Sophomore Ben Franco has been having a really good year in his first year on varsity. A sack, 4 TFLs, 38 total tackles, and a fumble recovery. And then on special teams, kicker Josh Reinhart, 22 of 23 on extra point tries. This team on defense in total, 16.5 sacks, 34.5 TFLs. They forced 12 turnovers. And it's really quite astonishing that the season that Hopewell Valley is putting together, just considering the cards they were dealt at the beginning of the year. They lost their starting quarterback. They lost their top 2 running backs, Ben DeCore and Dylan Yasher. who were two of the best in the county, and their top 5 wide receivers also lost a handful of big performers on defense as well. Then they start the year with that 35-28 overtime loss at home to Montgomery. And Montgomery's much improved this year. They're 5-1. They've got a win over Somerville this season on the road. Montgomery does. A Somerville team that could very well be competing for back-to-back sectional titles. But for Hopewell, at the beginning of the year, it's like, okay, is this the season that all the changeover finally gets to Dave Caldwell's group? And the answer to that, it's been proven that it is a resounding no. Hopewell 5-1, very much in play for a sectional title. And one of the teams that they got to get through now, undefeated, 6-0, Burlington Township. So following this big victory at Seneca, right, you'd think it'd be fair. Hopewell Valley gets a lighter opponent this week. But guess what? Life's not fair. So now Hopewell, they've got to go up against this 6-0 team ranked in the top 20 in the state. They're among one of the best public schools in New Jersey. They started 4-0 this year, but there were still plenty of questions surrounding Burlington Township as to whether or not they were legit contenders. The 4 teams they have faced to begin the year, currently a combined 6-18, but their last 2 victories have come against Delran and Burlington City, a pair of teams that also entered those games undefeated. Now they're both one-loss squads, and that showed the community that the Falcons are indeed for real this year. So their 2 big wins of the year against a Group 2 school and a Group 1 school. Now they look to beat a team from Group 3, and that would really help establish them as one of the best teams, maybe even a top 10 team in the state. They've got the roster to get it done. They feature not 1, but 2 fantastic quarterbacks who split playing time. Junior Bryce Carter, 28 of 55, 468 yards, 7 touchdowns, just 1 interception on the season. And then there's freshman standout Eddie McNair, who's 22 for 36, 346 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 picks. But they're really guided by their junior running back, Aiden Binns, who's putting up eye-popping stats on the ground. He has 116 rushes, 1,096 yards, 12 touchdowns. He's averaging just under 9.5 yards per carry. He already has 4 games this season with 179 or more rushing yards. He's only been held under 100 once. And take a guess how many yards he had in that game. If you said 99, you would be correct. He had 99 rushing yards in a Week 1 matchup against Nottingham. He's ran for a career-high 318 yards and 4 touchdowns in a game against Morristown on September 19th. And for his career, Binns, he's 266 rushing yards away from 2,000. And as long as he stays healthy, he should really have no problem achieving that milestone this year. And not only that, but remember, he's just a junior. So 3,000 yards is certainly something well within reach for Binns as well. And then there's also freshman phenom on this team, Gerald Sackey at the wide receiver position. How about these numbers for a freshman? 21 catches, 376 yards, and 10 touchdowns. This guy just a big play waiting to happen, and he's already set up to have a monster career at Burlington Township. I would expect to see Jude Berman lining up across from him Saturday morning. Berman, he's proven himself to be the top defensive back on this Hopewell Valley team. But for Burlington Township, they're guided by their second-year head coach, Stephen Everett. Under Everett, Burlington Township is 14-2, and they're not just hungry to continue their regular season dominance this year, they're also looking to prove themselves in the postseason as well. They were the number 2 seed in the Central Jersey Group 3 tournament last year, got upset by 7-seeded Delsey, 29-12 at home. The Crusaders, they went on to have a Cinderella run. They went to the sectional finals. They were eventually stopped by Somerville last year. But this season, the Falcons, they don't want to see that Cinderella run. They have put themselves in position to be one of, if not the top seeds in whatever bracket they wind up in. And it's become clear that they're just looking to dispose of any team that stands in their way. They're in the top 10 in point differential in the West Jersey Football League as a whole. They're outscoring teams 201-39 this year. Without a doubt, they're getting stronger as the season has gone along. And following Hopewell Valley, they've got games against current 5-1 Northern Burlington, and then face current 3-3 Cinnaminson on the road to round out the regular season. So they've got a real tough road ahead as they look to continue their undefeated year, does Burlington Township. But all right, I've now talked about how these two teams have fared this season. Let's harken back to last year. Hopewell Valley snuck past the Falcons 13-12 in a battle of heavyweights. And despite allowing quarterback Baron Davis to go 19 for 32 for 276 yards, 2 touchdowns, they came out on top as a result of a missed PAT. Burlington Township's final touchdown late in the fourth quarter. They missed the extra point, which would have tied the game. Hopewell Valley did a good job against Aiden Binns in that one, kept him relatively under wraps. He had just 20 carries, 86 yards, no touchdowns. And on offense, only one player for Hopewell Valley that recorded any stats in that game will be playing for the Bulldogs on Saturday morning, that being wide receiver Mike Whitlock, who had 1 catch for 6 yards. So again, a very new-look Hopewell Valley squad. A lot of these guys facing Burlington Township now for the first time, at least on offense. Defensively in that game, the defensive unit didn't have as much changeover, so a lot of these guys are back. But defensively, the Bulldogs recovered 3 fumbles in that game, which proved to be one of the major differences. One of those was Carter Horvath, who recovered a fumble. Talked about how he's having a great season this year. Ryan Odebre, Ethan Barker, Jude Berman in that game combined for 24 total tackles and 2 tackles for loss. This feels like a game where the defense is going to have to step up once again for Hopewell Valley. And if Grayson Vlasic continues to improve and continues to elevate his game like he's done the last 2 weeks, I think the Bulldogs have a real nice shot. But of course, can't make a prediction for this game on this show. You can tune into Friday Night Hype tomorrow from 4 to 5. Myself and Rich Fisher, we're going to be breaking down this matchup even more. I'll make my prediction for who I think is going to win another battle of heavyweights between Hopewell Valley and Burlington Township tomorrow on Friday Night Hype. But all right, just did a lot of talking about Hopewell Valley. How about we talk to their head coach? I'll have Dave Caldwell, the head coach of the Hopewell Valley Bulldogs, on for the second time this season. When we come back, you're listening to the High School Huddle on WBCB 1490 AM, 107.3 FM, and on YouTube at WBCB Sports.
Capital Health's primary care network continues to grow, bringing its extensive option of locations to your neighborhood. Whether you're scheduling a wellness checkup or not feeling well, advanced medicine starts with a Capital Health primary care doctor at locations near you in Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. To find a Capital Health primary care location that's convenient for you, visit capitalmedicalgroup.org. That's capitalmedicalgroup.org.
Today's show is proudly sponsored by Anthony Petsis and Associates, voted the best financial advisory firm in Bucks County for 13 years by the Bucks County Courier-Times. Anthony Petsis and Associates delivers people-centered advice, empowering you to take control of your financial future with confidence. Their firm is committed to helping your family build and preserve wealth for the next 100 years. If you're interested in becoming a client of the top-rated financial advisory firm in Bucks County, please contact Anthony Petsis and Associates at 215-968-6638. That's 215-968-6638. You can also visit their website at apetsis.com. Anthony Petsis and Associates. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there.
We gathered real Pennsylvania seniors and asked them how they would benefit from an extra $1,000. Here's what they had to say.
Everything is so expensive these days.
Car expenses, repairs.
My groceries, heating costs.
Medications. Sure, I could easily spend $1,000 like that.
Through Pennsylvania's property tax rent rebate program, eligible seniors and adults with disabilities could receive up to $1,000. Check your eligibility and apply online.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
You're listening to the High School Huddle on WBCB 1490 AM and 107.3 FM. The High School Huddle is proudly brought to you by the Capital Health System and Anthony Petsis and Associates. Now back to your host, Jordan Hirsh.
Welcome back into the High School Huddle. I am your host, Jordan Hirsh, and now on the line, I've got a very special guest, the head coach of the 5-1 Hopewell Valley Bulldogs, Dave Caldwell. Coach, how you doing today?
Not bad. How are you, Jordan?
Doing good. Probably not as good as you guys were doing, though, after last week. You beat Seneca 21-14, of course, a rematch of last year's South Jersey Group 3 semifinals. Did you guys have any revenge on your mind going into that Seneca game, or was it just another game on the schedule for you?
I mean, it's definitely more than just another game on the schedule, given, they're such a worthy opponent. And, they've put some great seasons together, and obviously they beat us last year. I wouldn't call it revenge. Every game is we just want to go out and compete. We knew that this would be a great game. We felt like we had a great game plan going in. And, no revenge, just a really good opponent that we knew would be tough to beat and would, probably advance us a little bit in the playoff picture.
And then you fall behind early in the fourth quarter in that one. You come back with 2 touchdowns, tie the score, and then win it. What was most impressive about the comeback in your eyes?
I think in the last 6 minutes, you saw all 3 phases of the game come together. You saw us move the ball down the field in a 15-plus play drive and finish with a touchdown. Then you saw special teams execute a perfect onside kick. And then you see the offense again, execute a 3-play drive this time, hit a big play down in the corner of the end zone. And then the defense had to hold strong, having 4th and 10, and Seneca completes a pass for an 11-yard gain. And then again, have like a 4th and 6 and 4th and 7, and we hold them and to win the game. So in the last 5 or 6 minutes, you saw all 3 phases of the game come together. It's a really reflection of how the coaches prepare and how the players prepare and for games.
And you held their quarterback, Anthony Tirico, a guy who's one of the better quarterbacks in Burlington County, just 88 yards through the air, and their total offensive number is just 224 yards for Seneca. What did you like out of the defensive effort last week?
I like how they recovered. I think we kicked off to them, and they went on a really nice drive. I forget exactly how long it was. It might have been I think we kicked it down to the 27-yard line. So right about a 75-yard drive to open up the game. They went right down the field and scored a touchdown, went up 7-0. And I think after that, we pretty much settled in. We gave up a slant in the fourth quarter or late in the third quarter when they tied it up or when they scored their 14th point. But otherwise, I felt like we competed. After that first drive, giving up 75 yards and a touchdown after that, I think we settled right in, like I said, and we played some stingy defense. We gave up a few big plays, but sort of kind of like a bend but don't break defense, and we just held together until the end.
Now, your quarterback, Grayson Vlasic, his stats have been outstanding these last 2 games. What's contributed to his improvement here in the second half?
He's a playmaker. He's a kid that, within the RPO game, he can read the defender he's supposed to read and get rid of the ball. He can run the ball. He has really good knowledge of our entire offensive scheme, the run game, pass game, RPO, screen game. And I think he's best when, he's sort of, doing things not on his own back there, but when he's able to scramble and create plays when under pressure. He had a few times in the game versus Seneca, he had people, hanging on his legs, and he's completing passes down the field. So, like I said in the previous time we spoke, he's crafty. He's been playing forever. It's like backyard football for him. He's just some natural competitor, and, you see that on Friday nights and hopefully this Saturday morning.
Now, looking at the season as a whole so far, you come into the year, you lost your starting quarterback from last year in Milan Desai, top 2 running backs as well, and then the top 5 wide receivers from a year ago. Fall at home week 0 in overtime against Montgomery, but have been nearly unstoppable since. What are some of the factors that have allowed you guys to not miss a beat with a relatively new-look squad, especially on offense this year?
I think it's a factor of our culture. Our players buying into coaching, and our continual improvement week in and week out. Not just results, but how we practice and how we prepare day in and day out in order to compete and win those games. I think, our culture is our culture. Our kids understand that we expect to win, we expect to compete, we expect to work hard, we expect to be disciplined, and they know that. That's the standard that's been set by the people before them, and that's the standard that they continue to live by. Sort of that next man up. People graduate, and they said that 2 years ago when Timmy McEwen graduated, and they said that when Milan Desai graduated. Now we have Grayson in, and he's stepping in. So just maintaining that standard, and when you have that standard and that culture, that's behaviors that are exhibited, and those are exhibited every single day in how they watch film and how they practice.
Now, defensively, Lucas Hemmer, Carter Horvath, they've been studs getting to the quarterback this season, combining for 9 sacks between the two of them. What makes those two guys just so good game in and game out?
I think they're just big and twitchy. They play fast. They play physical. They're both probably around 6'1", 210 pounds. One of our stronger guys in the weight room, but it's not just about being strong in the weight room. They can transfer that to the field. Carter Horvath is a one-way player. He just plays defensive line, whereas we ask a lot of Luke. Luke is our H-back. He's a tight end. He's a running back. He also plays defensive line. So he's sort of kind of a 1.5-time player. But both those guys, they play relentless. They pursue the ball relentlessly. They're good football players. They'll be playing at the next level.
So now, before we get into this matchup you've got coming up, undefeated Burlington Township coming in this weekend, are there any players on your team that you feel have flown under the radar that have been important to your team's success that you want to mention here?
Under the radar type guys, I think it's guys like Ethan Barker at linebacker. I think he's a guy that's been a 2-year starter for us. He just is consistent. This past weekend, we moved him down. He played a little bit of stand-up defensive lineman. He's a guy that you can just always count on. A guy that at the end of the day, he ends up, you look in the, I guess you do the stats, and he performs week in and week out on defense. On offense, I think it's Michael Whitlock. I think Jude Berman gets. He deserves all the accolades that he's getting, but Michael, Mike does a fantastic job as well. I think he might be leading our team now in receptions, but he's a dangerous, quick wide receiver with sure hands, and he blocks on the edge as well.
So this week now, another difficult task. 6-0 Burlington Township. They're led by their star running back, Aiden Binns. How do you guys go about trying to slow down a guy like Binns, who already has over 1,000 rushing yards for the year?
Yeah, that's going to be a challenge. They're just such a complete team. Athletes, obviously at the skill positions and big physical kids at the line positions. The back was very tough last year as well. I think everyone on defense just has to know where they fit in within the run game, and they just need to do their part and hopefully be able to contain him. Like you said, he's a great running back. We're just going to have to do our 1/11th and pursue the ball.
And the Falcons feature 2 quarterbacks that they like to rotate in and out through the game. What kind of unique challenges does that present when you're preparing for a team that has 2 threats at the quarterback position like Burlington Township?
I think we don't try to overly. Rather, we just try to simplify it. I don't think either the quarterbacks, one's like an unbelievable dual threat, and the other one only passes. I think we just try to simplify it by play, not personnel, when it comes to both those quarterbacks. Just again, try to simplify it and not make it too complex so that the kids can play confident and play fast.
All right, and then have you seen anything on film preparing for this game that you think maybe you could exploit and could take advantage of, maybe a potential hole in Burlington Township's game?
That's tough. Like I said, I think as a compliment to them, they are fast and physical, especially on defense. So maybe we hope to be able to use that against them, which I guess that's a little strange. I guess when you play football and the goal is to be fast and physical. I guess from an offensive perspective, hopefully we can get them to maybe over pursue or become a little too aggressive and be able to take advantage of that.
All right, and then finally, your last 3 games, Burlington Township, Steiner, and Heightstown, and then it's playoff time. So what do you want to see out of your team over these final 3 weeks as you prepare for what I'm sure you're expecting to be another deep postseason run?
Just continue to get better. I think this presents a great challenge this weekend. They do things defensively that our offense is going to try to adapt to, and they do things offensively that our defense is going to try to prepare to, and that's just going to allow us to get better and add to our tool belt of things that we can do and adaptations that we can make, and then hopefully we can bring those into our next game versus Steiner. Obviously the goal is to win the division. The goal is to get a home playoff game, and then from there it's a whole new season. So as soon as the playoffs come around, it's 0-0, and you have some new goals, and you play it week by week.
Awesome. Well, hey, that's all I've got for you, Coach. Thank you so much for taking some time today to join me on the show, and good luck Saturday morning against Burlington Township.
Thanks.
Well, there you have it. That was Hopewell Valley head coach Dave Caldwell. You could tell he seems pretty confident going into this game, looking to hand Burlington Township their first loss of the season. Again, you could watch this game live on WBCB Sports on YouTube. Kickoff 10:30 in the morning on Saturday. Pregame gets you started bright and early, right around 10:15, with Andrew Myers and Rich Fisher on the call for that. Should be a real good one between Burlington Township and Hopewell Valley. But all right, that's all the time we've got for you today here on the show. Thank you to everybody who tuned in on the radio side, WBCB 1490 AM, 107.3 FM. For you guys, Glenn Jones is next. And then a big shout out to those of you who joined on the YouTube stream at WBCB Sports. But until next week, my name's Jordan Hirsh, saying thank you for listening and have a great night, everybody.